Okay, let's just dive right in. If you thought the cyber threat landscape was aggressive before, 2025 was the year the gloves really came off.
Completely. We're talking about just an unprecedented scale of attacks.
And these are hitting major enterprises, globally recognized brands. So what we've done is synthesized InfoSecurity Magazine's definitive top 10 list.
Right.
We want to give you the ultimate shortcut to understanding what really happened this year.
And that's the key, right? This isn't just a list of big headlines. The criteria here were really rigorous.
Based on what exactly?
It was based on the severity of the data loss, the astronomical recovery costs, and the tangible real-world impacts.
And the geopolitical side of things, too.
Oh, absolutely. The geopolitical ripple effects.
Right.
We are tracking damage measured in the billions.
And when you dig into these 10 incidents, the threat landscape looks almost schizophrenic. You see these two massive opposing forces.
I know exactly what you mean.
On one hand, you have the professionalization of crime. Highly organized ransomware as a service, or RAIS groups. They operate like actual corporations.
And then on the other.
These chaotic, nebulous collectives, low-skilled, super aggressive hackers, often just teenagers, causing just as much systemic damage.
That's the human element. And the second massive trend is more technical. It's the devastating reach of the software supply chain attack.
Right. It didn't matter if they were pros or kids.
Not at all. Their greatest success came from exploiting vulnerabilities in these globally deployed corporate tools, the stuff every single company uses.
So one point of access becomes a massive domino effect.
An immediate one for countless victims downstream.
So our mission today is to move through these incidents, from the nation-states to the teens, and show you exactly how these varied threats all converge into the biggest risks your organization is facing right now.
A good place to start is with the heavy hitters.
The latest giants. Let's talk about Clop. They're a notorious Russian-speaking group. We've known about them since 2019. And in October, they delivered just a brutal reminder of their reach.
And they targeted one of the most foundational systems out there, Oracle e-business suite.
A system that's incredibly difficult to replace.
And what's really significant here is not just who they targeted, but how. They didn't use some old dusty flaw.
No, this was a zero-day.
A critical zero-day vulnerability, CVE 2025-61882. And that flaw in Oracle EBS is so devastating because EBS handles the most sensitive corporate data.
Finance, supply chain, HR.
All of it. And it needs high privilege levels to even operate.
And the speed is just terrifying. Oracle had to rush out an emergency patch on October 5th.
But by then it was too late. Clop had already accessed critical data.
And they were already sending direct extortion emails to senior executives. This wasn't a broad net. It was highly targeted leverage.
Exactly. And we saw immediate impacts on critical infrastructure. I mean, globally.
Like
Global Logic, a huge U.S. software company owned by Hitachi, was one. And maybe more alarmingly, Bart's Health.
a massive NHS trust in London.
It just shows you exploit one zero-day in a foundational enterprise system, and that instantly translates into leverage over critical services worldwide.
That technical leverage connects directly to the kind of operational chaos we saw from another major player, Qilin. End of September, Qilin hits Asahi, the Japanese brewing giant. They own brands like Peroni, Pilsner Urquell.
Right, huge international brands.
And the attack forced them to suspend all of their operations in Japan.
This one, for me, really highlights a massive gap in industrial resilience. They weren't just dealing with a data breach. The ransomware completely halted the production lines.
For how long?
Their internal analysis said disruptions would last until at least February 2026.
So, 5 months.
5 months. What does it mean that a modern, multi-billion-dollar company needs 5 months to recover from a single RAS attack? It exposes a fundamental flaw in how these industrial control systems are protected.
And the data theft was extensive, too.
Oh, yeah. Qilin put Asahi right up on their leak site, claimed they had 27 gigabytes of files.
And the personal cost. Approximately 1.9 million individuals, over 1.5 million of them customers, were potentially exposed.
The fallout was so severe, the CEO announced a whole reconstruction phase.
Which included what?
A completely new, dedicated cybersecurity unit. This wasn't just a cost of doing business for them. It was a fundamental organizational shift triggered by a criminal gang.
Okay, so let's transition from those direct operational shutdowns to incidents that created widespread systemic financial damage.
And that brings us to Jaguar Land Rover.
The JLR hack in September. This wasn't just another ransom. The Cyber Monitoring Center called it the UK's costliest ever systemic cyber event.
And systemic is the terrifying part. How does one incident create that kind of ripple effect?
Well, JLR itself was severely disrupted. Staff at the Halewood plant were sent home. Car dealers couldn't even register new vehicles during a peak sales period.
But the total financial damage was calculated to be so much wider than that.
We're talking about massive economic fallout. The CMC put the UK financial impact at £1.9 billion.
Which is what, about $2.5 billion US dollars?
2.55 billion, yeah.
Yeah.
And they confirmed the incident affected over 5,000 downstream UK organizations.
And that figure, that's the combined cost. It's the business interruption for JLR's entire supply chain. The cost of forensics, the regulatory fines, the insurance payout.
It shows that even if you're not the main target, if your business relies on that one anchor enterprise, your operations stop when they stop.
Absolutely.
And the group allegedly responsible. It just illustrates that nebulous collective trend we talked about, the Scattered Lapsus Hunters group.
A coalition, right. A mix of scatter spider, shiny hunters, and lapsusists.
Which is emphasizes that collaboration, whether it's among professionals like Klopp or these anarchic collectives, is what's driving modern cybercrime.
And if the JLR hack shows the systemic financial cost, then the Salesforce and Gainsight breaches, they demonstrate the systemic technical vulnerability.
The supply chain weakness.
The inherent weakness in the supply chain. Initial rumors pointed to shiny hunters, and Google validated some of that, but the deeper issue emerged when UNC 6395 compromised OAuth tokens.
Okay, let's slow down here. We should probably clarify for you listening. What exactly is an oath token, and why is compromising one so much more devastating than just a password breach?
It's the digital skeleton key. That's the best way to think of it.
The skeleton key.
Yeah. An oath token is a credential you issue to a third-party application like Gainsight that lets it access your data in a primary service like Salesforce without needing your password every time.
So UNC 6395 wasn't breaking into Salesforce directly?
Not at all. They compromised the tokens associated with third-party apps, specifically Salesloft Drift and later Gainsight through its SFDC connector.
So instead of breaking into one house, they stole the master key you give to the cleaning crew.
And that key opened dozens of other houses.
Wow. Precisely. By gaining those tokens, they got access to data across a staggering array of high-profile companies. Cloudflare, CyberArk, Google, Palo Alto Networks.
And even huge fashion giants like Chanel and Pandora.
It's a perfect illustration of how deeply interwoven our digital supply chains really are. Every single third-party vendor is a potential gateway for system-wide failure.
Shifting gears again, let's move from these financially motivated breaches to targeted espionage, which is almost always tied back to nation-states.
Advanced persistent threats. And in late July, Microsoft warned everyone about the Toolshell exploit.
How was that?
Toolshell was highly efficient. Attackers chained two distinct critical vulnerabilities in on-premises SharePoint servers.
So they use them in sequence.
Exactly. And by doing that, they compromised nearly 400 SharePoint systems globally.
Yeah.
And SharePoint is, it's ubiquitous in critical sectors, government, defense, healthcare. It handles all their internal document management.
And the attribution was swift. It pointed directly at Chinese-aligned APTs. Reports linked them to Linen Typhoon, Violet Typhoon, and Storm 2603.
So what does it mean in practical terms when an APT like Linen Typhoon is targeting a tool like SharePoint?
It means they are leveraging known corporate dependencies for strategic long-term intelligence gathering. This wasn't about a quick payday.
It's about persistent access.
Persistent access to government communications, sensitive documentation, and the scale was massive. Cisco Talos later revealed that by late October, almost 40% of their entire incident response workload was just cleaning up exploited SharePoint servers.
A crisis that leveraged commercial tools for geopolitical goals.
Exactly.
Speaking of large-scale targeting, mid-year saw a huge focus on major airlines.
Right, Qantas, WestJet, Hawaiian Airlines.
The FBI even issued a public warning about the Scattered Spider Group actively targeting them with ransomware and extortion.
The Qantas incident is really instructive here because it ties the geopolitical threat right back to the supply chain and to the human element.
How so?
The attackers specifically targeted a call center, a third-party vendor. They used them to get access to the main customer servicing platform.
So a lateral move, exploiting the weakest link.
And that one move resulted in the compromise of data belonging to 5.7 million customers.
The juxtaposition of threats in 2025 is just starkest when you compare two sectors that are purely focused on money, crypto and retail.
On one side, you have nation-state sophistication leading to the largest crypto heist in history.
The sheer scale of the February breach of Bybit, the Dubai-based exchange, is it's staggering.
The FBI linked it almost immediately to the North Korean state-sponsored Lazarus Group.
And they netted an estimated $1.47 billion worth of Ethereum.
That one single operation largely fueled a massive 303% increase in crypto theft in just the first quarter of 2025.
And the overall crypto loss in the first half of the year exceeded the total amount stolen in all of 2024.
It's just mind-boggling.
So that Lazarus Group hit is cold, calculated financial terrorism. But then right after that, in May, we had the Coinbase breach.
And that one was less about nation-state engineering and more about brutal, localized social engineering and insider threats.
So what happened there?
Coinbase confirmed that cybercriminals had bribed and recruited a group of rogue overseas support agents to steal customer data for impersonation scams.
That compromised almost 70,000 customers and cost the exchange $400 million.
And the legal fallout revealed the specifics. A class action lawsuit alleged these compromised agents worked for TaskUs.
The third-party company Coinbase hired to handle customer support from India.
Right. And TaskUs confirmed the staff were involved, but, tried to minimize their own internal security failures. It's another perfect example of a third-party risk failure.
But Coinbase's response here was pretty unusual.
Very unusual. Instead of paying the $20 million ransom, they launched a massive $20 million bounty program for information leading to the criminal's arrest.
A really bold, financially aggressive counterattack.
It set a precedent that not all major corporations will just pay and move on.
And that decision stands in stark contrast to the retail hack wave that was hitting the UK at the same time.
Right. Marks & Spencer, the Co-op, Harrods, and luxury brands like Adidas, Gucci, Louis Vuitton all hit in the spring.
And for those retailers, the financial impact was just devastating. M&S faced an estimated £300 million cost.
Which is $400 million US dollars. The Co-op reported a £206 million revenue loss.
And during parliamentary hearings about these incidents, which shows you how serious they were perceived politically, the M&S chairman notably declined to state whether a ransom was paid. What's truly telling here is the connection back to our intro theme. These retail attacks were also linked to scattered spider.
And law enforcement acted. They arrested 4 individuals in July.
3 of whom were incredibly teenagers, on suspicion of offenses related to those 3 major UK attacks.
So we have teenagers causing parliamentary hearings and hundreds of millions in damage.
It's unbelievable. And if we look back to the very start of the year, this theme started early.
The youth involvement and the painful data exposure.
Right. Tail end of 2024 into January 2025, the school software provider PowerSchool was hit. Student and teacher data compromised.
And PowerSchool ultimately paid an undisclosed ransom to stop the leak of that data, which they admitted publicly 4 months later.
And to tie this all full circle, a 19-year-old college student in Massachusetts later pleaded guilty for his direct involvement in that attack.
So let's take a breath and try to synthesize this whole list.
We've covered nation-state operations, stealing $1 billion, professional Reyes groups shutting down global production for half a year.
And groups involving teenagers devastating major retail chains. What is the fundamental commonality here?
The key insight is exactly that. The most effective attacks of 2025 were often clever but profoundly unsophisticated at their point of entry.
They didn't rely on some never-before-seen technical breakthrough.
No. They succeeded by leveraging readily available access, known Reyes tactics, the human element like the bribe support agent, or most critically, known supply chain weaknesses.
The compromised OAuth token. The on-premises SharePoint zero-day.
They just found the friction points and maximized the pain. And the risk is truly universal.
From JLR's systemic cost hitting $2.5 billion across the entire UK economy to the $1.67 billion stolen in crypto in a single quarter.
The threat landscape is defined by its ability to hurt every single sector, regardless of their security maturity.
Absolutely. We saw the hyper-sophisticated Lazarus Group set historical records, stealing over $1 billion from Bybit with, military discipline.
And at the same time, we saw domestic retail sectors devastated by the chaotic, scattered spider.
using basic social engineering and third-party weaknesses like Taskus.
It's a threat environment that manages to be both highly targeted and disturbingly opportunistic all at once.
So let's leave you with this one provocative thought, building on this entire year's worth of data. Despite the extreme difference in attacker sophistication, from a billion-dollar nation-state collective to a collective involving teenagers forcing parliamentary hearings, why did the recovery costs and operational disruptions look nearly identical across the board? It suggests that access, not complexity, is the ultimate measure of success for a modern threat actor. And if that's true, the critical missing defense for you right now isn't against some mythical cutting-edge attack. It's preparedness against the simplest, most easily exploitable intrusion point. And that should guide your strategy moving forward.